Okay, so today I'm gonna talk about a bit more about, actually more in detail, what Worldcoin does. I think probably most people heard about Worldcoin as the project's name about it, but we'll dive way deeper now into the user activities or what users actually do on chain. And maybe many of you also have seen the announcement. Like 2 days ago, we've launched the developer preview of Worldchain, and yeah, we're gonna talk more about it today. Like, what does it actually mean to launch Worldchain? Yeah, so first of all, the goal of Worldcoin is to launch the largest identity and financial network. And more than that, not only launching it, but also giving the ownership to the network itself, so everybody in the network. And like, this is very abstract, but kind of what does it mean now in more detail, and actually why do we do this, right? So on the identity piece, maybe first of all, I think in general, this proof of personhood and proof of unique humanness has become way more popular than it was like 5 years ago nearly when we started. And I think by now probably way more people at least will agree that humanness is an important concept as a whole, and you actually need a proof of personhood to solve problems in governance, and especially like the long-term problem of HEI, I think, and redistribution of resources and wealth created through the HEI will require some sort of notion of humanness. And on the financial part, nevertheless, I think we really want to deliver on this OG premise of crypto, of building this large financial system that actually anybody can be part of and is built on blockchains, and is this permissionless thing that just anybody in the world can participate and really have the same opportunities. So two major pieces of the system that I will talk through is one World app, which is right now the major wallet in the ecosystem, originally developed by Tools for Humanity, one of the core contributors. But it actually does more than just the WLD token, right? It allows people to hold crypto as a whole, interact with other crypto tokens, and also exposes this notion of digital cash, which is really USDC, and a bunch of primitives around USDC and other tokens to end users. And this is really like easy to use, beginner-friendly wallet in a sense. And on the protocol side, there's WorldID. So this is mainly the piece of the whole system that allows you to prove that you're a unique person, and then also use it in other applications. And it's totally privacy preserving, or like we go to a large extent to include various technologies that improve on privacy, and I will talk in more detail, but that's the other core primitive that we built. So now to numbers. In total, there's around 12 million World App users. These are not all verified with an orb, so I'll dive deeper into those numbers later, but this just shows like there's a large influx of new users that go on-chain and do certain actions on blockchain. And around 5.4 of them are monthly active, and the largest number of orb verifications that we've seen in a week was around 400,000 users. So they really went to an orb and then were proving that they're human through this biometric means. And yeah, nevertheless, a big part of why users sign up and what they can do right now is the Worldcoin airdrop, right? And I think this is also one of the largest, or probably the largest airdrop already now, with around 200 million WLD claimed by users. And yeah, we're not going to stop. Every user is eligible for that. This is, I think, an interesting graph because it shows kind of those two lines starting to diverge, and like this orange line becoming huger. So the blue one shows the orb verifications, and the orange one just in general, all users downloading the app, right, and really becoming like a wallet user. So you see that it's not only for users that, I don't know, learn about Worldcoin the first time they see this shiny sphere that we've built, right, the orb, but they also just download the app and World app, or like any wallet, that because they're interested in the project and actually want to become on-chain users, right? And that's the orange part, really, users that just have World app as a wallet. And yeah, what does this now mean in terms of on-chain activity, right? Peak new users, around 800 or 900,000 new users kind of that we brought on-chain that have some certain interaction with the blockchain. Average of transactions per day is around 600,000. It's not quite Visa style or Visa level, right? But it already shows like there's a huge already kind of infrastructure needed to handle this. I think it goes very high in the overall usage of crypto. And the most transactions in a single day were around like 1 million or above 1 million. So I think another impressive number is total transaction, 120 million. So that's so far what all users interacted with a blockchain, and they are mostly new users, right? So we're really growing the overall pie here. So now what this means in terms of on-chain activity, right? In terms of, here in our example, optimism, because that's really where the users are right now. And it pretty much results in, I think recently we, or WorldApp users, or Worldcoin users took over the majority of the network, at least by definition. So around 51% of all the gas consumed on OP Mainnet is driven by Worldcoin users. And all of those users interact through the chain through pretty much already account abstraction, right? So all of those users have a safe deployed. They have a way to pretty much also, like it's a way for them to get an on-chain account, right? It could be something that's not bound to WorldApp in the future, but they just take this account and use it in any other wallet in the future. And I think that's generally the direction that the whole space is also heading at, or should be maybe heading, to have this reusable on-chain account notion versus the wallet being the account and very hard to migrate from. And also here to point out, $0 were paid by users in terms of fees. These were all sponsored transactions actually, and this is really just possible A, through account abstraction, and B, through Sippl resistance. So you could really not do this if you, or if we hadn't like a strong way to prevent Sippls through WorldID. And really what got us there, kind of from originally like, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years when we got started to OP Mainnet. So 2021, this was actually, I think the last time I was at FCC. We were still creating this optimistic rollup. I think back then there was really nothing that was kind of production ready. And based on first principles, we thought, well, it will be, or like Worldcoin will be really useful in peer-to-peer payments. So we built this custom optimized and highly gas optimized version of an optimistic and slightly CK rollup, which was called Hubble. Yeah, we found out people want to do more than payments. Actually not a big surprise, I think, in retrospect. And also the scale really did not matter so much yet to go highly optimized. Actually, a lot of the improvements we did back then came back later in some sort of other improvements we've done. So it was definitely at least a very good learning. But we also found out then when migrating to Polygon that it's actually not enough to just give everybody an EOA, right? And so we shortly after migrated to Safe pretty much for all WorldApp users, and every user got upgraded or was able to upgrade and got a Safe deployed. And since then are using Safe. And this was really, I think, the beauty of decentralized protocols. We just started deploying those Safes. Safe didn't know kind of what is happening. There's just this huge influx of new Safe users, and I think a really good example of like permissionless infrastructure they were just able to use. And yeah, this led them pretty much to launch on OP Mainnet last year, pretty much exactly 1 year ago, when L2s finally became like production ready. And now we kind of also outgrew this and migrate to WorldChain. And yeah, we announced a preview 2 days ago, as I mentioned. Now, what do those people actually do with all of those transactions, right? I think not surprisingly, a large chunk of transactions is actually claiming the airdrop. And this is not an off-chain interaction, but this is really an interaction or like a transaction created by the user consisting of a zero knowledge proof, in detail CROT16 pairing-based proof. So this actually is very expensive to verify on-chain in terms of compute gas. And I have here on the right side a little graph from a Dune dashboard from Nibra, a team that's working on proof aggregation of all of the amount of gas that is consumed in terms of verifying zero knowledge proofs on chain, actually on any chain. And the orange part is Worldcoin. So the majority, or like more than 75% of all gas related to verifying zero knowledge proofs is spent by pretty much, or like is consumed by Worldcoin users. And this just shows also the scale and like the importance of the large scale applications of zero knowledge proofs here. This is kind of not maintainable, right? You cannot just have a zero-knowledge proof for every person that claims the airdrop. So we work on proof aggregation actually with a lot of outside teams through the grants project, and yeah, want to ship this proof aggregation, which will then be a huge improvement and hopefully also opens up new use cases like permissionless gas sponsorship through 437. And it's kind of a call out for developers. By the way, all of those blue ones are like, we're very interested in those topics, also through the grants program, which I later will mention. But it's also all based on a larger piece of infrastructure, which is the World ID as a whole, right? And to briefly guide through this, so a user's journey kind of starts here. The user creates this World ID key pair, fully self-custodial, in the app, and then gets this verified at an orb. The orb does the humanness check locally, so make sure that you're not just wearing a mask or, I don't know, bringing your dog to sign up. But what it can do locally is the uniqueness check, which happens in a more central way, but we also managed to, make it a bit more decentralized by running it in a multi-party system, but most importantly, make it fully private, that the biometrics, like the only person that sees your biometrics kind of is you, right? And the orb would only also see it and compute something locally, but it's never retained. And this MPC system is actually one of the recent additions that also Remco talked today earlier in another talk. And we also released a blog post. Definitely worth checking this out. It's like a huge piece of engineering that went into this to make it possible on that scale. Then it lands in a, like the verified World ID public key lands in a off-chain sequencer, which again is pretty much like a mini CK rollup that batches a bunch of those and brings them on-chain, and then proves that those state transitions were correct, and makes kind of a commitment to all of those available on various other chains like OP mainnet, because the whole thing runs on Ethereum actually. And yeah, just as a brief call out here, I think we use pretty much like most of the buzzwords here in privacy enhancing technologies of CK, MPC, CKML, TEs, soon even PIR. And yeah, we're happy to slam more privacy enhancing technology in there if you're interested in improving the system. And the other part besides WLD and claiming the airdrop is really people already do now on-chain transactions with USDC and stablecoins. So they can, of course, hold it. And it sounds like not a big thing for many of us here, but it is actually a big thing to just get access to dollars in many countries in the world that have like high inflation. And as a bonus, you can even earn yield on this, right, in a permissionless way on-chain. So this is like already a big thing for many World App users. And then, of course, people can send this USDC around. I think there's really no technical hurdle now anymore to adoption. The fees are so low. They're anyway sponsored, but they can also continue to be sponsored because they're so low and Sippl resistant. Users can also swap tokens, and I think what we actually want to also see more of in general in the Worldcoin ecosystem is like actually day-to-day transactions, right? People should not just hold USDC, but actually maybe also use it, pay for goods, and generally something we're very interested to drive real world use cases and not just Web3 degen demos. Right? I think that we got plenty of in crypto. This is all again based on the larger wallet infrastructure that is behind a lot of parts in Worldcoin. World App as a self-custodial wallet, but then also, as I mentioned, smart accounts, which is built on safe. Each user has their own safe and actually can manage the safe, for example, adds passkeys, which make it very hard to lose the access to the safe. And soon they will also all be migrated to 437, so works way more permissionless and kind of independently of World App backend or safe backend to propose and send those transactions. And yeah, ultimately this allows for more wallets, and yeah, we're interested also to fund these. What we've learned, I think in general, as like getting to that scale is L2 ecosystem definitely was early and is still early. I think we had to build a lot of things ourselves, had to make a lot of improvements. For example, like the fees were definitely not that low in the beginning. So we had to do custom compression on those transactions, and L2s were not really that kind of big game changer in the beginning. Now with 4844, which also took a lot longer than we thought, and which we also helped contribute to, which is kind of here, if you remember the KCG ceremony on the right side for Ethereum, where we also contributed on like the infrastructure. And I think now it can be summarized as like the new bottleneck is L2 execution gas, and that's also the new focus where we want to contribute as a project and want to also fund other developers, give grants to people that want to help improving that. So Worldchain is now live actually, developer preview, so you can apply and get a private RPC URL. Later in summer it will be fully public. It's more like a time period where developers can deploy the contracts without, I don't know, having to be bothered by a lot of world app traffic and like high transaction fees or something. So it's more like a launch window for other developers. But what's next is actually public launch, as I mentioned, migration of all world app users, and we want to really contribute on scaling ref and joining this whole gigagas roadmap. And yeah, this seems to be like the new bottleneck for now, as long as we don't run into, again, some data availability constraints on L1. But that's like the primary objective on our side for now. And I think this is very well aligned with the overall ecosystem of OP, Coinbase, and anybody else in the superchain. And yeah, we obviously also want to push account abstraction very far on the world chain, make this a kind of first-class citizen. As I mentioned, yeah, every user has to safe, and this should also be the primary way to interact for users. I had a bunch of callouts. All of these blue bubbles were like little callouts for things that we're interested in or like generally interested in. There's more than that, but I think not surprisingly, CK identity is very big topic for a Worldcoin project, and also anything around the infrastructure, working on actually scaling RAF. And yeah, we have the Human Collective Grants program for that. We'll be very happy if we see applicants on any of those topics. And I think that's it. No, we're also here somewhere around FCC. I think there's at least one of the cafes is still ongoing, and there's ETH Global on the weekend. So yeah, it would be great to see people hacking on things. And that's it. Thank you very much.